My name is SE Wallabo, and my guest today is one and the only, Dave. What going, my brother? How you been, man?
I've been great, man. I've been absolutely great.
Yeah, man. I haven't seen you in at least in 2 decades. You know,
Actually,
probably
that's exactly the right. Yeah, early 2000, I think it
early
was.
2000, probably 2002 or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's easy. Yeah,
yeah. So where you at right now? You in SA or you in Botswana?
yeah. I'm here in Joburg, in South Africa. I've been here for I'm going on 20 years now. Being since I moved to Joburg, so it's 2 decades as well.
I know you moved to Joburg a long time ago. You know what I mean? But I'm assuming that Botswana is like how many, like 3 hours driving, 4 hours driving from Joburg, 3 hours, something like that.
Yeah, 3.5 hours, 4 hours. Yeah,
But now
basically.
because
Yeah,
of the corona, we can just cross anyhow we want. That's why I want to know
Mm.
how you been maneuvering this pandemic, man.
yeah. It's been frustrating because movements have been kind of
Uh-huh.
stagnant for most of us. We just had to be indoors, and also there's been a lockdown in terms of movements in just
Hmm.
within, I would say, the province or the state, if you want to
Uh,
put it that way.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so definitely access crossing the border has
Hmm.
been limited. It's only
Hmm.
been like most recently they've opened up a lot more, and things are
Hmm.
easing, because I guess economy is just so,
Hmm.
it's just been so degraded that they, at this point that, we got to move forward.
But let me ask you something though. I mean, in places in metropolitans like Joburg and Cape Towns, I know business is down right now. How are people moving? How are entrepreneurs faring against this pandemic? Or what is the government doing to sort of kind of open or to make the environment conducive for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, it's been difficult for every industry, period. There's nobody
Yeah.
affected, whether entrepreneurial business, small business, big business, but small business, and your uh, your mass, jobs for,
Mhm.
I'll say, poorer
Mhm.
communities, that they have been affected the most. I mean, there has been incentives here and there, but that was like the first
It,
2-3 months
it
of the
can only
pandemic.
last.
They
That's not
they
sustainable at the same time. you know,
It's not sustainable. At the same time, they didn't do a great job
they didn't
in
know.
SA, so it was poorly executed. Um, just the grants they were just supposed to take care of certain communities and people. I
Yeah.
mean, it didn't work out as well as it should have, and there was a lot of money, and that was embezzled, and corruption and things like that. So it,
I guess that snake is everywhere, though. Where people
Ye-
embezzle, people's
yeah,
funds, people's money.
and at the worst time possible, because a lot of people lost their jobs, and
Yeah,
they had nothing to turn to,
yeah.
and it got really frustrating. So I can tell you that that can't it couldn't carry on. I mean, the government would have lost
For sure.
its hold on
Yeah.
just the democracy and
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah. Well, we touched a little bit on the pandemic. I'm pretty sure we'll touch on it again. But I want to go
Mm.
back and hear your background story, because sometimes when people see you doing things, when they hear about you without knowing
Mhm.
your background, but your background is what really made you, is really what pushes you every day, right?
Yeah,
You know, I want
absolutely,
to know where you were
absolutely.
born, where you grew up, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, 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 definitely.
Yeah.
So I was this young man So I was born. Let me start from the real beginning. So I was born in Botswana. I was born in Francistown.
Were you born in Ghetto?
Uh,
Oh, okay, okay. I went to
yes,
school in
yes.
Matterspain, in Matterspain, though. So.
Oh, right, right, right. My
Yeah.
my 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 early years were in Francistown, but only up until the age of 6.
Mm-hmm.
And my father at the time ran some businesses in Botswana, in Francistown to be specific.
Uh-huh.
And my father. I'm born from my mother's Botswana, and then my dad is Jewish, European Jew.
Mm-hmm.
He came by the way of, you know, during the war and
Mm-hmm.
everything. My grandparents
Hmm.
were also part of the Holocaust, and
Oh.
unfortunately,
Hmm.
they yeah, you know the history. So
Yeah, 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 definitely.
my father escaped that whole
Hmm.
period and came down to settled in Zimbabwe, then eventually moved to Botswana. So that
Man,
that that was when I was born.
that's some
Yeah,
background story. That's pretty deep. For those who follow history, you will know that it's still not easy. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, it isn't, and it's funny because I mean being a like a black Jew, you experience your experience
hmm,
is rather interesting because
yeah,
you've got a history of you know just atrocity, and then you come to a place like Botswana, South Africa, where next door in South Africa there was apartheid.
yeah,
So it
yeah.
was just this experience from very very interesting perspective.
Wow.
Being having sharing that in one body, having two experiences. So
Right, right,
yeah,
right.
very
Yeah.
very very
I,
very
I know,
hard to deal
I
with.
know you still feel it because these things are embedded in us. You know what I mean? Like, where your parents, what your parents experienced. These things
Yeah, absolutely,
are there.
absolutely.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my mother's family is born in South Africa. So
Okay.
we are the Botswana that came from South Africa that settled in Botswana.
Hmm.
But my mother was the last born of the sisters that was born in Botswana.
Okay.
So my grandmother and grandfather, technically, they're from South Africa, and they had to run away from the whole
The old regime.
apartheid and
Hmm.
the regime, and then because they came over and they, via the Land Act of the 1940s, took over aggressively the land that my ancestors and my grandparents owned, and they basically put a threat out and said, "Listen, if you don't leave this land, we want to take you out." So
No.
they took possession of the land and everything my grandfather had on that land, all the cattle and everything, and he was pretty well off. So it's funny because we're going through the land claim right now in
Hmm.
South Africa to
Hmm.
say, hey, you guys took our land. So yeah, that's another story.
That's another story. That's another
Yeah,
story. That's another story.
yeah.
Um, I
Mm,
was actually I want to go back to continue with your story real quick. But I was talking to
mm,
somebody the other day when I was in the Bay, and we were talking
mm,
about Mandela. You know how people have different perspectives on Mandela.
mm, mm, mm.
Especially as far as the land is concerned, right? So
For my whole, this is my personal opinion. Mandela's job was to take us out of
the
the
bridge
the just the violence that was about to erupt was going to be
at
on
that
another
exactly,
level. At
exactly.
that point, we had reached the peak,
Hmm.
and the apartheid government has now started pitting
Hmm.
tribalism against each other, and there was a lot of infighting amongst black folk.
Hmm.
We couldn't continue to do what we were doing.
Right,
We had to figure out a way to transition.
right,
So at
right,
this point, I I feel like his job was defined by taking us out of the violence. That
right,
was his
right.
job.
Right.
the rest of the politicians were supposed to take us out of the institutional
Hmm.
economic issues that we went through, because I mean they
Right.
could have did that,
Right.
you know what I'm saying, they could have did that.
Right.
I don't really believe the blame is on Mandela to
No,
have
I don't buy
fixed
into
that.
that either. Yeah.
Yeah,
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 I really don't buy
that's
into it.
my opinion, you know.
But Mandela
Right.
was surely the bridge. He was the light. I thought, like, his energy, he was the positive energy, right? you know
That we needed, it.
that we needed,
Yeah,
definitely, definitely.
yeah, absolutely.
So you were born in Gabs, I mean in Francistown,
Friends.
and then you grew up where?
So first 6 years, so after 6 years, my dad, my pops, he passed away,
Hmm.
and then I moved to Gabs with my mother.
Hmm.
At the time, they were separated, so I then moved in with my mother in Gabs, and I was there for couple of years. Actually, I went to school with a few well known people from Gabs at that, like DJ Fresh and everybody
Okay.
at Northside Primary at the time, you know.
Okay.
So I was in the same class with him and a couple of other guys, Trevor. I'm trying to remember the class,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, we were all part of that school. And then I moved to school in Mabatu for 1 year.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
You've been around, man. You went
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. And then I experienced the feeling of apartheid, you know, having to be forced to take Afrikaans for, and be beaten in class because you don't understand the joint. Because I'm like, yo, speak to me in Setswana. I don't know about all
Right,
of this. You know
right.
what I mean? But those are the days when they used to whoop you in class, right? When you didn't know stuff,
Man.
So, and then uh I went to the States for a little while.
Hmm.
We stayed in at the time we stayed in Modesto,
Yeah, I know
small little
Modesto.
town.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, yeah. I went in stayed in Modesto in California with my aunt, and then that was for a short little while, and then we traveled some more. Ended up in Australia for a few months,
Wow.
and then back to Bots. And
Hmm.
then I was like, okay, look. My mom's like, look, you need to just finish your primary school
Hmm.
because there's a lot of traveling, and
Hmm.
after that we're gonna move
Hmm.
to the States. So I came back and I finished my primary at Broaders Primary,
Hmm.
and then exited Botswana and came to Sacramento in end of '86,
That,
right?
so, as you know, Sacramento is the city that I'm in right now. So,
Right, 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 right,
right.
right. Oh, you wait a minute. You were in the Bay before
I
when
was
I
in the
when
Bay
you
for a
last
long,
said.
long time. So I was
Yeah.
in the Bay for a long, long time. Then I went to LA. I don't know how I ended up. It's a long story to tell, how I ended up in Sacramento. So, but I'm in Sac right now. So, but I
Oh,
was in the
damn,
Bay.
man.
The
Okay.
Bay is like my home from home, basically.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
but when you start raising family and all that kind of stuff, you realize that you begin to appreciate places like even though it's still a big city, Sacramento, but it is
Mm-hmm.
slightly slower than other places that I've been to, you know, for raising
But
family. Let me put it that
but way faster than when I was there.
way. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
so yeah, I mean that's good to hear, bro.
Yeah.
My experience, my real like growing up years were in Sac. So I
Hmm.
basically like I said, from about end of '86,
Hmm.
I settled out there, and I went to school, um, middle school. I went to San Brandon Middle School. Then I went to Kennedy High School.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know those places. Yeah.
Right, right.
Mhm.
So and then I stayed a little longer after high school before transitioning back to Botswana. Yeah. So that was
Yeah,
kind of
man.
like my early years. But I did a lot in SAC though.
You,
I'm
you
talking
did a
about,
lot in SEC. Yeah, I know you.
yeah.
Is that where you before I say that I've been to your auntie's place, but that's a long time ago. But during one of this Botswana independence thing, so
Yes,
so
yes,
so,
yes.
so but I was supposed to go back. I was to go back to see her with another sister from Botswana. She's out here,
Mm,
and then the
mm,
pandemic hit, and then sort of
right.
kind of things fell down, and I think something happened with her son as well, and we couldn't even
Mm.
go and see her and all that kind of stuff. It's just a mess.
Yeah,
um
it's unfortunate. Yeah, her son, my
yeah.
cousin, who I kind of technically raised when I was staying with my aunt and stuff. My cousin
Mm,
Chad. Yeah, he passed on during the pandemic. I mean, he had
mm,
had unfortunately a botched operation
yeah.
from a condition that he had to have
Mhm,
operated on, and
mhm,
yeah, same to me. I haven't had a chance to check
mhm.
in and actually see my aunt
Yeah.
and pay my respects because he was like my little brother.
Little brother,
So
pretty
yeah,
much.
and my aunt is still in the same place, man. Since the
Still the
last
same
time we.
place. Yeah, you gave me the the address. So it was like, because I think I hit you like right maybe a year before the panel tell you that I want to go back and I want to go and see your auntie. It was like, no, she's still at the same place. Here's the address. I was like, this is the address, of course.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes, and that's
yeah.
the last time I saw you at that as well. It was, I don't know if we saw each other after that, but the one that I really remember was a between Christmas. Either it was Christmas or right after Christmas of '99, going into 2000, and you had
Right.
come through. You had come through with your wife to be, I guess, at that time. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Exactly,
yeah.
my brother.
Yeah, and I was flying out to New York. I think
Yeah,
the
that's
night the night after. Yeah.
so. How did you get into music?
Well, that's why I say a lot happened in
Happened in
Sacramento.
Sacramento, right?
Yep, yep. The music career started in Sac,
Yeah.
and I got a crazy story, man. Like,
Hmm.
so I'm like a sophomore in high school,
Hmm.
right, at Kennedy.
Hmm.
And I mean, this is right around the time like hip hop is like trending. It's like, it's like breaking into slightly into the mainstream, but not really. But
Uh-huh.
you know what I'm saying? But everybody, every young kid is into hip hop now. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, this is like 88, 1988, 80, yeah,
Hmm.
88.
Hmm.
And I'm in the gym locker. And this is the
Uh-huh.
first time, first year. First day of school, gym locker. And
Uh-huh.
so I'm coming in there, you know what I'm saying? And I hear these guys beatboxing on the table, you know what I'm saying? And there's this dude rapping, you know what I'm saying? But he's going off because everybody's like, oh, like, oh, it's like crazy. So those days there wasn't a lot of people could rap, who could spit, you know what I'm saying? So
Right,
it was
right,
a,
right, right.
a phenomenon, so everybody's running to the other end of the gym,
Right,
you know what I'm
right.
saying, like, where the lockers are at, and we're like, yo, you gotta hear this cat, you gotta hear this cat.
Hmm.
And then, I see this big dude, you know what I'm saying? Like he's standing there and he's like, and he's spitting, so, and he's going and he's going. And this guy's like giving him the beat, pounding on the table.
Uh-huh.
And and I realized that, wait a minute, this is a battle going on. So this is the first time I've ever seen and heard. I'd heard of a battle, but I'd never seen one live. And it was
Live
like
like
something
that, huh?
different. Yeah, live. This is my first rap,
Right.
watching somebody rap live. And
Yeah.
the bonus thing is I'm catching these guys and they battling. So he's
Hmm.
battling this other guy
Hmm.
at Kennedy,
Hmm.
but he's murdering him. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that time he had this flow that was very reminiscent to LL Cool J, but
Okay.
LL's like
Okay.
first first album, that aggressive Ella,
Yeah, aggressive way.
my
Yeah,
yeah, that
yeah.
my radio,
Not
mama
the
said
smoke,
knock
the
you out.
romantic. Yeah.
Yeah, not the the hungry kid, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's killing them, man. And anyway, so I watched that, and it was just like, I mean, I had my mind open to hip hop, but this was just like a moment that
Yeah.
just took
Yeah.
me into this world, and I was just
Yeah.
like, wow, I want to be part of this world. But you know what I'm saying? I'm still like, it's still a phenomenon, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And throughout the year of my sophomore year, he's battling all these guys and he's killing them. And he goes by the name of Tim, and they used to
Uh-huh.
call him Tiny Tim, but he was not anything tiny by any aspect. He was kind of like a very, he filled up the room, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he was
It was
already
more like
like
it was more like Pac
six
or
foot.
something like that.
Yeah, and he was like 6 foot tall already. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Okay,
okay. Okay.
mind you, he was a junior, and how he was already a year higher than me. So
Uh,
anyway, I wanna transition because this story is crazy.
it's okay.
So I
Okay.
see this kid. His name is Tim Parker, Tiny Tim.
hmm
So then I befriend this other friend of mine, and his name is Maximilian. Maximilian had this amazing way of beatboxing. Like, it was
hmm
the he had ways in which he could play with his voice and his mouth, and he create instruments.
Right.
And I became really close to him, and we're really, really good friends. And
Uh-huh.
but he was like a Christian rapper, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, but not everybody wanted to use his voice, but he was like, no, no. But if I'm spitting, y'all ain't cursing because I'm not spitting to y'all cursing. So it was a very interesting balance. Now
Right.
he
Right.
used to
Right.
try to bat, and when somebody slips in the curse word, he'd be like, I heard
Uh-oh.
y'all. You know what I'm saying? And then he's like, okay, he gives the beat back. So anyway, he goes on for a whole year. He's like he's spitting and he's doing his thing and whatever else. So couple years go by. Tiny Tim graduates. You know what I'm saying, and he becomes this, like, he takes rapping really serious. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
He becomes like a professional
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
rapper in the industry, right?
Okay. Okay.
So that story carries on. So he's born in Sacramento. He moves to the Bay, right?
hmm
And so my music is starting to develop because I'm around Maximilian, and Maximilian now starts to become actually quite the guy in the industry, especially in the Christian rap industry, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And he has this crew of friends that are all part of this group, right?
hmm
And they used to come to my places in Sacramento, and we used to make beats. I learned how to pick up a sampler and sample beats, and they'd bring their keyboards, and we'd do music all together and whatever
That's where
else,
you
right?
learn those things that right there.
Yeah, exactly. So I figured out how to use a computer in those days and to use
hmm
a sampler, and that was unheard of in those
hmm
days. I'm
hmm
like
hmm
19 years old, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. hmm
So Max goes on, he leaves, and he goes on to be like really huge. And even his partner gets into movies, and he ends up in this movie with Beyonce. With, I think Beyonce had this. There was this movie where it was like a singing movie. I can't remember the name of that movie. It was
Oh
some
yes,
years ago.
I know the movie you're talking about. Yes. Yes.
Yes, he. Um,
It
I
was more
can't.
like musical, right?
Yes, it was like a musical, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I know. I know. I
yeah.
know. I know the movie you're talking about.
So one of his that one of the guys that I was practicing doing the music with, he's in that movie. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
So their careers kind of really took off and whatever else. So anyway, like, here's the crazy part, right?
Uh-huh.
So I transition, my music career develops. I moved to Botswana. I moved to South Africa,
hmm
and I start this rap group called Cash and Society, and we start putting out these records. And eventually, we get picked. Our first record gets picked up by a famous New York DJ by the name of DJ Babito, right?
Yeah. 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 I think that name rings a bell. Which year was that?
Bobby. This was 99.
Yeah.
Babito was the first. Bobby Stretch and DJ Babito had a
Mhm.
show together. DJ
Yeah,
Stretch
yeah,
Arthur,
exactly,
right?
exactly,
And
exactly. Mhm.
if you know how huge their show was, they're the ones who really broke Biggie Smalls. You know what I'm saying? They're the
Oh,
ones who put Biggie Smalls on the pedestal because that was a time when Biggie was still doing the college circuits, promoting his music and stuff like that. And Babito's show was one of the biggest college shows on the circuit, and they kind of pushed his career forward.
that's cool.
Anyway, Babito had his label, and he would happen to be on tour in South Africa, and he heard us perform, and he picked up one of our songs, and then he released it in the States.
Oh,
And was it was a DJ vinyl exclusive, and
right, right.
everybody, from Fat Beats to all of these big record stores in New
Right.
York and LA and
Mhm.
in Germany, they all picked up the record, and it did pretty good on the
Right.
DJ
Uh-huh.
circuits. So from that, we were doing shows as well, right? Opening up for acts that were coming in from the States or whatever.
Yeah, I remember that time you were pretty busy, you know.
So we
Mhm,
open up for this other crew, right? They get
mhm.
booked by a mutual friend of mine. So he was like, "Yo, come and open up for this group called Black Alicious, right? They from the Bay Area, right?"
Mhm, mhm.
He's like, "Okay, all right, cool, all right, nothing to it." So we did our show. We did our show.
Black Licious what
And
was more like a conscious kind of conscious group. Yeah,
exactly,
I remember
exactly,
them. Yeah, yeah. My wife used to
exactly.
my wife had their tapes. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They were definitely synonymous in the Bay.
yeah.
Most
Mhm.
people at least knew who they were. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. No, I know them. Yeah, for sure. Mhm.
So they did a show at the Baseline and Joburg and whatever else, and we opened up for them. But I'm like looking at this cat. I'm looking at this cat, the lead member of Black Alicious,
Mhm.
and I said, "Oh damn, I know this cat." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Where do I know this cat from?"
Uh.
And then I just got goosebumps. It's Tiny Tim
Wow.
from the
The
gym.
guy who was killing it at
Tim
Kennedy.
Parker is now changed his name, and he
Mhm.
goes by the name of Gift of Gab, and he's from a group called Black Alicious.
Got it. Got it.
I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, like do you know how full circle mind blown I was at that moment? You know what I'm saying? Like I was like elevated out of my body. I was just like, you
Right.
guys don't know what is going on because I'm looking at my band members. I'm like, you don't know what's going on right now. Because right now I'm out of body. You know what I'm saying? Like this is an incredible situation
Right.
because here I am.
Mhm.
I This guy was the guy that blew me away.
Mhm.
I went and started my music technically because of him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just finished opening up a show for him.
Yeah.
He's this guy that I didn't put the two and two together. Now I have Black Alicious, Gift the Gab, Tiny Tim, John F. Kennedy High School. That was just like, damn, Sonny, do you understand what I'm talking about right
Man, yeah.
now?
So so you let him perform, right? And then you
Yeah, he performed, and then that was when I was like looking at it. And I'm like,
yeah.
but this
And he was still
guy
killing and he was still killing it.
super killing it. Even my other band member who's like a serious lyricist, he's like, this
Mhm.
guy's incredible. And and I was just that at that point I was reminded that this guy was born to be incredible. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? He was it was he's the guy. He's
He's
the
the guy.
guy that started it. He's the guy that turned the key for me, like, and said, "This, yo, go." You know what I'm saying?
Right, right,
And
right.
I mean that all. I want to cut the whole story short, but it was like a crazy moment in my life. And
So what did he say? When he saw you? When you
I mean, let me tell you something, Sonny. The
Mhm.
crazy thing is, I was nervous when I saw I couldn't even like barely talk to this guy and tell him like who
I
I
love,
was, because he did. I would stand next to him when he was like rhyming when I
yeah.
was 15 years old.
Hmm.
But I don't think he knew I was that guy standing next to him. And
Right.
it was very difficult to explain what I was trying to explain to him at that
Right.
moment.
Right.
But all I could say to him was John F. Kennedy, Sacramento,
Sacramento.
1988. You may not remember me, but I was the guy in that cipher when you were spitting. He
Right.
was just like, oh shit.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? Like it was just crazy. You know what I mean?
wow, man,
So
that's crazy. Yeah, that's great story, man. That's really great story.
it is
Yeah,
mind blowing.
I
Mind
love
blowing.
it. Is that mind blowing? So,
And the unfortunate thing, last year, 2021, he passed away.
oh
Um,
no.
I think he had had issues with his kidneys for many years. So yeah, yeah, actually he got a lot of media attention,
Yeah, no, I think
even
I
from
remember. Yeah,
really big artists.
yeah,
Came out to support him, his family, and whatever. But yeah, he passed away at the age of 50. Yeah. But yeah,
yeah.
I can treasure that moment, man.
Wow, that's crazy, man. Wow. So, but when you were in South Africa, did you work with some of those guys who were in, I know you, especially from Botswana and you know, Bofresh and Boski and all those guys.
Collaborate with any
Did you
Botswana artist?
collaborate
You
with
mean?
them? Hmm.
Like, no. You know, the funny thing is, it's unfortunate. Give me a second.
Hmm.
Um, it's unfortunate that as Botswana, when we come to South Africa, we kind of, I want to say unfortunate, but we just find our own path, and so and because the industry is so big, we tend to find our own journey, and
Okay.
the collaborations
Hmm.
don't happen.
Hmm.
If they happen, it's just a natural.
Hmm.
He was there at the right time. I was there at the
Yeah, I
right
was
time.
there at the right
So,
time. Okay. Okay.
like for instance, like with Fresh, um, when I had the group Cashless Society,
Hmm.
I did a bunch of interviews on YFM with him. So
Hmm.
that was a great defining moment that me and him, these two
Yeah.
kids from Botswana from Northside Primary, was sitting there together and
Right.
share a
Right.
moment where
Right.
he's doing his thing, I'm doing my thing, and it was like a very warm feeling at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
Right.
that was a very organic situation that happened.
Hmm.
It was a natural
It was
collaboration.
natural.
But
Yeah.
I never said I'm going to work with Ski. I'm going to work
To
with
work with Fresh and
Fresh.
yeah.
You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
I found my own journey, and
Hmm.
they did too. And I worked a lot with a lot of South African artists.
Hmm.
I did work with a few Botswana artists that
Because your
later on
music
they got
also was slightly different from them, though, right? Like slightly, as far as.
Yes. I
Mhm,
mean,
mhm, mhm,
as working with Schizo and Solo B,
mhm,
Pongoristas, IQ, when we had the Tribal Monks album, it was a
mhm.
fuse of elements of dance music, kwaito, hip hop and reggae tones. You know what I'm saying? It was
Yeah.
just like a fuse of different things. And it was because we came when we were influenced by different aspects of music, but we try to make it all work. But then when we separated, we got more focus in that specific genre.
You became
Yeah,
sort of.
I was the initial member. So let me put it this way. What happened is that
Mhm.
TMO was put together as it was actually collaborations of separate entities that were already doing things. So
Okay.
that's why I say me and IQ were doing stuff. We
Okay.
were sampling, making music, doing beats and stuff like that. And Skeezer would come by because John Sololani, right? Isaac's
Yeah. Yeah.
father,
Yeah.
who
Yeah. Yeah. I know
prominent
Johnson. Yeah.
prominent
Yeah,
prominent
yeah,
musician.
he's an
So
icon. Yeah.
absolutely, a legend
Yeah,
in,
he's a legend.
yeah. And I was staying at Isaac's house for about a year. You know what I'm saying? I was living on my own by then, but I ended up living with him for a little bit, and it made it easier because we were doing music together. So Skeezer would pull up to our place because his he didn't live too far from where we were staying, and we would play him some of the stuff we were doing. And it was actually three of us that were. It was myself, IQ, and this other cat called Charles, but he ended up moving out to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or something like that, and
Okay.
then Atlanta later on. So then it ended up becoming the two of us, and we're like, "Yo, let's collaborate." And then Skeezer was like, "Actually, I'm working with this cat. You guys need to meet." So we're
Le-
like, "Okay, cool."
And you guys were in Botswana. This is Botswana, right?
This is Botswana, right?
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Okay, cool." He's like, "I'll come scoop you up," because this is after months of us playing him stuff, and he could see like we were very serious at what we were doing. He even dropped off like a case of his records. He's like, "Yo, make some stuff from this stuff."
I
You know what
just
I'm
remember
saying?
I just remember Ski with his case.
With the huge cases, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Yeah. So sometimes he'd come through and just vibe with us and pick up
uh,
records. He said, "Let's work on this," or whatever. But
mhm,
then one day he's like, "Yo, I'll come scoop you guys. Let's go meet my partner. I'm doing music with him."
mhm,
So when we roll out, and then when we get there, he introduces us to this guy, and he's like, "Yo, Isaac, D." At the time, I was going by the name of Dolio. He's like, "Yo, this is Solo B," right? I was like,
uh-huh,
"Oh, okay, cool." So then that's how Solo B and Schizo, myself, and Isaac started. So it was
uh-huh.
just the four of us, right? It's just the four of us. There was nobody else. There was no anybody. It was just
Yeah.
us.
Hmm.
Bongo wasn't even there. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So then we start putting some stuff together, and it's funny because things happen so rapidly and so quickly. I think within a month we had like a few tracks, and
Uh-huh.
then we were doing music. There were two girls from Zimbabwe, Inonge, and I can't remember the other girl, the sister to Inonge, and they were really great vocal singers. And we were booked to do a show.
Hmm.
We managed to get a booking to do a show at Bull and Bush, right?
Hmm.
And that was our first TMO show ever, right? Okay, and
Wow.
we were opening up for
Mhm.
Prophets of the City, this
Uh-huh.
this hip hop group from Cape Town. They were the
Uh-huh.
first one of the they were the first biggest hip hop group from South Africa called Prophets of the City. They were actually endorsed by
I remember
Public
Prophets of
Enemy.
the City.
Yes, they were endorsed by Public Enemy from the US. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
So
Mhm.
so there was that first, and this was when what's his name? Damn, what's his name? I'm trying to remember. The cats from Prophet of the City. The names of are kind of escaping me.
Mhm.
But anyway, yeah, and we absolutely killed that show. And it
Yeah.
was just like we came off that show and they were like, you know what? I think this can work. And that's how TMO started. It started with the four of us.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's cool, man. That's good to know. That's good to know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think that story's ever been told.
Yeah, no, I didn't ask because I think
Uh-huh.
I was in discussion with different, uh TMO members, I did an interview with Martin before he passed last
Yeah, RIP Sounds, man.
yeah, man. He was
He
a
lived
great.
next door to me, right? Like where I'm staying right now in SA.
Uh-huh.
He he literally lives next door to me. Like I could just step out my door, just walk to his place. Like, yeah, it's crazy how Sounds and I ended up in next door to each other in Joburg.
Yeah.
you know?
Sounds
Yeah,
he was a wonderful guy, man. you know.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He
Full of
was
energy.
full
Yeah.
of energy, man. Full of energy.
Mhm.
Well, that's good, man, about your music. So you're still doing some other projects right now, as far as music's concerned in producing and doing what kind of music are you doing now?
So it's interesting. So 2018, I
Hmm.
decided to step back from the
Uh-huh.
music. Like I was running my label, I kind of shut that down,
Hmm.
and I just wanted to focus on other mediums of
Hmm.
things in business.
Hmm.
I just feel like I had kind of done my part. I've done a lot of projects in SA. I
Hmm.
did commercials. I mean, I did to the latter part of from 2014. I was getting into a lot of commercials, doing
Commercials, you mean like, producing commercials, like
yeah, producing music for commercials. I was doing
producing music
stuff.
for commercials? Uh-huh.
Yeah, I did some stuff for 2010 soccer world, the World Cup here.
Mm.
For some of the games, I did some ads for CNN. I did some stuff on South African breweries. I did some just really major stuff, and it was really an exciting space to have journeyed into. And I felt like I'd done a lot in terms of where I wanted to go, and so I
Mhm.
kind of stepped back from the music, and I'm
So
not doing as much as I do now as
so
I
would
did
you
before.
so would you say that, working with those media houses
Hmm.
propelled you to sort of kind of venture into something else?
Yeah, look, running a label, I already knew I was a different type of musician in the sense that I take the business of music very seriously.
Mhm.
I read a lot when I was coming up on how to run an independent label, and the Bay Area had a perfect blueprint of how to run independent labels. Everybody in the world has stolen from the Bay Area in terms of the independent music scene.
Right.
The independent music scene
Mhm.
is the first and most successful independent music scene is the Bay Area, and that is largely because of the label that Too Short was on, and some of the E40 and some of
Mhm.
those guys, because they were doing stuff that was
Mhm.
selling tapes out the trunk, what I'm saying, having their own outlets of setting up stands with independent stands at Tower Records, you know what I'm saying, booking their own spaces and
Mhm.
doing that kind of stuff. That was unheard of, you know what I mean? And they were moving millions of records way before Master P got into it. And
Started
Master
in.
P Master P took that blueprint from the Bay Area and used it. He admitted that, you know.
No, he admitted
So
it. I heard him talking about that. You know.
yeah.
Mhm.
So for me, having come up and understood the business of music, I was independent label. I was running my own label. I was running my own publishing. So I realized that I benefited, especially on the publishing side,
Mhm.
in the years to come when the royalties started accruing, and I started making more money on the publishing than I'd ever done, even on the commercials themselves. I
Mm.
was like, okay, this is great. If I'm getting a royalty check that's higher than a CNN check, that's saying something. You know what I mean? So I was pretty geeked about that. So that did transition. I mean, the business has been always there, but it did. The working with the media houses transitioned me even more into the kind of things that I'm doing now.
Well, you mentioned, not that I want to go back because I think we've gone like 46 minutes already.
Oh wow! Right.
That was fun. I think we should do part two, just like on the live, you know.
Sure, sure.
Um, e-
Anytime.
exactly. But you mentioned Master P. Well, I think that's intriguing. I don't know if that's the blueprint right now. I mean, you can still sell your music out of your trunk, right? But the internet is there. It's
Yeah,
like
it's
your
a
trunk now.
yes, it's a different chunk now, and
Yeah.
and in fact, it has made things a lot easier because the access is at every home, in every laptop, computer, mobile phone, wherever you have a device, you have access to the music. So your whole world is a lot more easier to access. So, but you know what? The principles still stay the same. The independence of releasing music, and I mean, with the advent of technology with music, the platforms for music have even evolved. Even even Spotify is gonna now, it's gonna be surpassed by the next tech. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
With the advent of Web3 coming on, you know.
Mm, 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 mm.
Hmm.
So when you say Web3, you're talking about metaverse?
Yeah, well, you know, Web3 is like in the internet on steroids. Just to give you an example, like,
Uh-huh.
you know, being able to have your own crypto wallet address
Mm-hmm.
on the internet that is labeled, instead of giving somebody a long complicated number address,
Mm-hmm.
that address now can be Sunny, just like you, right? It
Mm-hmm.
can be like, yo, send me money directly to Sunny.
Mm-hmm.
So on Web3, you can set up your own brand and name as your wallet address. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? So anybody that tags it can send. It's kind of like how I guess Cash App is in the States, you know what I'm saying? But on
Mm-hmm.
the internet. So
Mm-hmm.
that way you're receiving crypto. Your web wallet is a name address now, which becomes very dope. You know what I'm saying? So you can set up a name address on different domains, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you have sunny dot NFT, you can have a web wallet address for that. If you
Mm-hmm.
have sunny.com, sunny.crypto, you know what I'm saying? So you have a wallet address that can encompass many ways to capture payments, you know. So it's going to have a much more simplified way of just you know, people paying you in different ways, on revenue streams on different ways, you know. So I think that's the thing that we need to understand, is that Web3 is going to make Web2 even more easier, you know. I'm just trying to simplify for the
No,
audience. I
you
don't
are
want to be
you are
too technical.
simplifying it. You are simplifying it. I mean, before we delve deep into the crypto world, right? Because I heard you a little bit last time, talking about crypto. I was like, this guy is really, this is his thing,
Right.
Sometimes when you talk crypto, some people think that, they he is, he's trying to rob us, this whole thing.
I like that. Right.
Can you please unpack this thing and put this thing in the right perspective as to why crypto is a legit way of actually investing in it?
Yeah, I mean, this question gets asked a lot of times, and you know, I'm always happy to answer that question. You
Yeah.
know, crypto is just another financial vehicle. Okay,
Mhm,
what we need to understand. It's a financial vehicle,
mhm,
just as much as currency, your hard currency, aka fiat, is
mhm,
a vehicle to transact. Just like your bank account with the money in it, digital money that you can transfer to someone else and they can take it out the ATM and into card cash. All crypto is just another vehicle for currency,
okay.
right? Or assets, depending on how you look at it, or even a utility. Because the great thing about crypto is it has many use cases, you know.
Mhm,
And so one needs to understand that you can use a financial vehicle for good
mhm,
or for illicit transactions.
mhm,
That's plain and simple. You can take money and
mhm,
commit fraud.
mm,
You can take a check, write a bad check, right? Just as
mhm.
much as you can do that on fiat, you
Correct.
can do that on crypto.
Mhm.
But crypto is
So,
just
so
a it's just a yeah.
before you move, so for people who are going to be listening to this, fiat, you're talking about the regular money that we have, like
Yes,
the
yes. Sorry.
note, the
Traditional
note.
money,
Yeah.
currency,
Mhm,
hard cash,
mhm,
dollars, rands,
mhm,
bulas, whatever you want to call it. That's called fiat. All
mhm,
right.
mhm.
Okay. So we must understand that you can do anything with something. You can decide to do good with it, or you can decide to do bad with it.
Okay.
It is not bad in its form. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm,
it was never you can it's just it's just numbers, zeros and ones. That's all it is. You
Mm,
know, how you access and use it, the transactions that you do determine whether it's good or bad. Okay.
mm,
So, I mean, and that as a foundation will make you understand that if I send you $5 in Bitcoin, you
mm,
can take that, convert it into $5 in US dollars, or $5 of that $5 Bitcoin into uh, uh, 15 Rand,
mm,
or 10 Pula. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is. It's just
mm,
another currency. I've just moved it, just like you would if you had dollars and you moved them into pounds. So think
mm,
of it like that. You know, it's
mm,
just another currency. That's all it
mm,
is. It's not built to be fraudulent. It
mm.
actually has much more safety to not to be fraudulent. You know what I'm saying? Because you own your own bank account. Now I'll simplify this. When
Mhm.
you have Bitcoin, you have your own wallet with your own passcodes that only you can access it. You don't actually have to put it in a bank account. You
So it's
have
like
it.
you having your own bank. Is like you having.
Yeah, you have your own bank. You are your own bank. So you have the ability
So you
to
are your own
access the
bank.
money. You
Okay,
are your own bank.
I like
So
that.
instead of taking the money and put it instead of taking the money and putting into somebody into a bank, that essentially is someone else holding your money. You're cutting that out and you're saying, I am holding the money. I am the only one who has access to it. And I can transact whenever I want to. And I'm my own support. You know what I'm saying? Like if I need to check something that's going on in the account, I can check it. And to hold money in place, just to hold it, there's no transaction fees. You go to the bank, every month they're going to charge you a monthly transaction a holding fee, just for to keep your money in a checking account, to keep your money in a savings account.
Mm,
They're going to charge you a monthly fee. When you have a Bitcoin wallet, your money, if it's in there and it's not moving, there's absolutely no charges. That's
mm,
the beauty of it, and that's why it's meant to transact for the future,
mm,
because the banking system is so archaic and so outdated. It
mm,
charges you for every little thing and very exorbitant fees. And the great thing is that if I have to move money from one country to another, it's literally I do not have to go to the bank and apply for a, um, whatever they call it, some kind of foreign transfer,
Yeah, yeah,
depending
yeah.
on which country you're in. I don't need to do that, which takes 3 days on Swift. Swift is an old dated technology that
Mm-hmm.
moves money after 3 days. I
Mm,
can move Bitcoin or other currency in seconds, Bitcoin maybe in 30 minutes, but I can move and transact all around the world. So the great thing is about being able to move money swiftly, quickly, from a wallet to wallet, people to people, merchant to merchant in seconds. That's the great beauty about crypto. So
mm,
nobody should tell you that it's fake, it's this and that. I'll give you statistics. The 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 money laundering in
mhm,
crypto
mhm,
is nothing compared to traditional currency.
mhm,
Anybody tells you is wrong. Anybody tells you anything else is wrong. They like
mhm,
to push, media likes to push the agenda that a lot of transactional stuff is in crypto, and money laundering is happening on a large scale. Money laundering in crypto amounts to 0.334%, less than a half a percent
mm,
of illicit transactions.
mm,
0.34% in illicit transactions for money laundering. Okay.
mm,
Now, let me give you an example. Um, $1.6 trillion is money laundered every year, right?
mhm, mhm,
And only one, what is it? Equivalent to 1.9 billion to 10 billion
mm,
is laundered in crypto. Do
mm,
the math. It's very simple. 1.6 trillion, 1.9 to 10 billion. Okay, it's not even so. What we're saying is it's 800 to 1 chances that you'll be defrauded. You'll be defrauded in real currency than you would be in crypto. So that should tell you already where you stand with if crypto is fake, if crypto is bad.
Mhm.
Already, it cuts down on a lot more money laundering than
Mhm.
the traditional currency.
Mhm.
So 800 to 1, um, that's a no brainer. you
Yeah.
know.
No, no, that's good, man. That's good info, and I believe that a lot of young people now they're beginning to understand this world of decentralized finance and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you say that though, since a lot of people, especially African folks, you know, I mean, even over here, when you talk
Mhm.
about crypto, some people is like, nah, man, I want my cash in my pocket right now. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Staga was I have this. I sell my stuff online, right? She was like, "Do you want me to pay you with cash or with crypto?" so,
Yes,
so I was like,
that's
"What?"
dope.
I want for a minute. I was like, "No, I want my cash right now."
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I
so,
mean,
so
yeah, go ahead.
right. No, my question was like, do you think that we are we getting late at this? Are we still good? Are we still at the
Oh yeah,
beginning?
we early, like
Okay.
early. Like here's an example, right?
Mhm,
And I posted this, I reposted this a couple of days ago
mhm.
on one of our Twitter accounts that we have a crypto educational channel on Twitter. Myself, Ralph Staga, and IQ. And I posted
Okay.
this on. I reposted something
Give me
somebody
the handle,
put
man,
out.
and I'll check it out.
Oh yes, it's at Coinosaurs, and it's coin.
That's a big term, man. Coinosaurus, like
Yeah,
like
like
coin,
Coinosaurs.
coinosaurus.
Yeah, like
Okay, got it,
Coinosaurs, right?
got it.
Yeah. So something very interesting, man.
Okay, I'll check it
In
out. Yeah.
1997,
Hmm.
there were 130 million internet users, right?
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
In 2021, there's also 130 million crypto users. Do you get what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
if you take that number, you can exponentially grow it to 2022. You know what I'm saying? So 1997, 25 years ago, 130 million crypto users today, 130 million users in 1997 on the internet.
Hmm.
So we early, like crazy, because that's a fraction of the billions of people on this world. You know what I mean? So we still have a lot of time to get into this and invest and learn and have fun in this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can tell you that we got a long way to go. Yes, it will grow faster because tech tends to grow faster,
Hmm.
and then adoption will obviously catch on faster.
Wow. No,
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to listening to you guys on Twitter talking about this. you know. Um.
Yeah.
So now, so we have the world of bitcoins and we have this other smaller coins. Can you still get
40.
into can 40 something? But can you still
Mm.
get into the Bitcoin? Like, how do you get
Yeah.
into the Bitcoins when you don't really have a whole lot? Because we know. Let's talk about utility here, right?
Um, there's utility, there's adoption, there's the marketing as well, obviously.
Hmm.
Um, I could tell you that when Bitcoin was 3,000, people thought it was expensive.
I
When
remember when it
Bitcoin
was
was,
3,000, brother.
yeah, and people thought it was expensive.
Yes.
When it got to 20,000, people thought it was expensive.
Mhm.
It dropped back down to 6 and then back to 3 again. People said it was expensive. It went all the way up to 30, 40. People said it's expensive. Then went up to 69, and same story. Now it's back down to 42. People still say it's expensive. I'll tell you this, we early, right?
We early,
You
huh?
can buy, we buying a piece of Bitcoin. You're not buying the whole
You
part
buying the
of it,
piece. Okay.
right? So you can own a piece of it. There's a statistic out that says by, I don't know if it's say they said 2024 or 2025, that if you had zero point 0.2 Bitcoin, 0.02 Bitcoin, which would probably be about, um, I'd have to check. Can I just pull this up real quick? Because
Mhm.
this is a very important point. I'll be able to just tell you what where I'm getting at right now. In fact, it's right up on my screen. So yeah, so basically about 900, yeah, about $800, right?
Mhm.
About $800.
Mhm.
You'd be amongst, I think you'd be in a unique category to where you're one of the few that owns that much Bitcoin. Basically, just $900 of it. Basically, because at some point they won't be enough Bitcoin for you to accumulate that much
I
without
understand.
paying a whole lot for it. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Mhm.
So there's speculation that Bitcoin could hit as high as half a million in years to come. So when we're talking about 40,000,
How
and you're
many
saying
bitcoins
it's
out there?
there's 18 million that were ever mined, right? There's
Mhm.
21 million that'll ever be mined. And so 21 million is the maximum circulation you can have of Bitcoin. 21 million.
21
There's
million.
not there's I mean there's so many millionaires in this world. There's more than 21. You know what I'm saying?
Got it.
Like
Got it. Mhm.
millionaires is nothing. Billionaires is different industry, but
Mm.
millionaires is nothing, right?
Mm.
And basically what I'm saying is if you give one Bitcoin to every millionaire, do you know how scarce that is? Now, so the scarcity of Bitcoin is going to push the price up, right? So that's why it's good to own a piece of it, because even at that, it'll be so scarce that it's going to drive the price up. Because remember, we have 18 million that's already mined. There's
Mhm. Mhm.
3 million to go, but also 2 million is said to have been lost forever.
Mm.
So the circulation is about between 15 and 16 million of Bitcoin. So do you see how scarce it is? Now, if you look at the US
Because the
dollar,
demand will continue to grow. The demand for it will continue to
exactly,
grow.
and
Mm.
and then
Mm.
and then there's no, they're not printing anymore, so there's no, it's
Yeah,
not inflationary.
got
You know
it.
what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You know, if you look at the US dollar,
Mhm.
they printed 60% of their circulation in the last year. 60% of the US dollars that are on circuit on sorry on in the market,
Yeah.
right?
And
Has
circulating.
been
Yeah.
printed, yeah, it's circulating, has been printed in just in the last year. That's
Right.
how much inflation the dollar can be, has been printed and printed and printed forever, you know. So when you talk about where to keep your money in, your safest bet is to transition some of it into cryptocurrency, because you have a deflationary model that is hedging against a inflationary model that's constantly printing. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, so
Mhm.
if you have just a piece of Bitcoin, you'll be one in a few to own that piece.
How do you get the piece of Bitcoin? Can you talk to us about that?
Well, I mean, depending on which country you're in, there are
Mhm,
different mediums you can access. I
mhm,
guess in the US, it would be Coinbase, the easiest way to access and get
mhm,
um, Bitcoin. In South Africa, there are local exchanges. Obviously, you can access your Bitcoin. There are other exchanges where you can link up to internationally, where they give you portals where you can buy your Bitcoin.
mhm.
Um, but you just have to do your research,
Right,
because there's a
right,
lot
right,
of lot
right,
of regulation of where you can buy and what you
right.
can't buy. You know what I mean? And you have to do
I,
KYC
I
and
I
all
was
that other
hoping you
stuff.
would say that because I think even though you're giving people information, people should
Yeah.
go out and do some research for themselves, right? you know.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Because at the end of the day, we're just giving our
Mm,
opinions on
mm,
our journeys and not financial advice, because that would be wrong for us to do that. But the whole point is that it's just to give you a sense
mm,
of what is out there. What are the possibilities,
mhm,
and take that information and then dig deeper and see
mhm,
what you think about it. But
mm,
these are my
mm,
observations, and this is what I've learned in the last uh, going on 5 years in crypto now.
mm,
Yeah,
mm.
you know,
Wow, wow. And they can check you guys at what do you say, connoisseurs, right? That's your handle on
coin
Twitter.
coinosaurs. I mean, maybe I should just put it in
Put
this
it
little
somewhere,
chat,
or if
in
you
this
can
little
put it
chat
somewhere,
here.
I'll put it up later. But if you can, that'd be cool. Mhm. So
Yeah,
you are also aware of the NFTs. Are you into
yeah.
NFT?
I just started getting into it. I've
Uh-huh.
been fast tracking myself into learning and getting into it. And in fact, I'm lightweight in a involved in a project right now, actually. So it's a fun, interesting space, because when I first got into it, I was
Hmm.
it was weird, because I have to say, when I started seeing, I saw some great NFTs, then I saw some weird looking NFTs that I was like,
Uh-huh.
how is that worth $3 million? It looks like a picture out of a 1986 Nintendo Super Mario Brothers game. Because it just looked very pixelated.
Right,
But
right.
I've realized and learned that art is, we all see art differently. So yeah, you know.
That's cool, man. Because I was talking to one of artists in Botswana. I was like, man, you should look into NFTs. Because some of these people that are not quite familiar with this, but I think they can make a kill. You know, but
Yeah,
they still want to do their business the traditional way. You know. But
absolutely.
that's why the education that you guys are putting out, I think, is very important. I think a lot of us should check you guys out, really. you know
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
yeah.
Right now, we've been doing a few podcasts on a mutual friend of ours, AK,
Hmm.
just giving people information, but we haven't actually started our own podcast just yet. We've just launched our Twitter page, and
Hmm.
just kind of giving information from there, trying to grow our community on Twitter first, before we go ahead and start, actually venturing into the space, because the whole thing is about creating opportunities, educating, giving people information around crypto and NFTs, and investing in crypto, and staking, and
Hmm.
even information on how to get free money, because there's a lot of airdrops, and there's a lot of opportunities to grow your crypto from nothing.
Mm.
um,
Mm.
there's a ton of ways to there are guys who run airdrop discords that sit there, and the whole year they can rack up about $10,000 worth of airdrops. you know it's just phenomenal how they can just accumulate money from nothing. That there's so much because marketing is so very it's so high in crypto, and
Mm.
that's the way they're gonna get the adoption is to give out some of it, you know. And Bitcoin, when Bitcoin started, people were just giving out free Bitcoin, like, oh, I'll
Mm.
send you 5 Bitcoin. Oh, here's 10 Bitcoin. Like, can you imagine that? Like, had people known that Bitcoin would grow to be from $1 worth $10 at the
I
time
know.
to
I
be
know.
worth $69,000 at one point. Like owning 5 or 10 Bitcoin. I mean, that's phenomenal.
My wife and I, we mining this. Actually, she introduced me to this coin out of Stanford. It is being mined for free. She was like, "We have to continue to mine this thing, man. We don't know where it's gonna go because a couple of heavy hitters are part of it, you know. So we've been mining it for at least for the last couple months, you know.
I think
Like,
I know you talk about that one. Is it called Pi?
yeah, pie, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
pie.
yeah, yeah,
So we don't
yeah,
know where
yeah.
it's going, but we're mining it. You know, you never know
Oh,
what's gonna happen with these things, you know.
nice. Yes, yes. Dope, dope, dope.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
yeah, we mine pie, man. I was gonna get into the metaverse, but you know what? There's this guy who's selling shoes in South Africa. There's this nigga called Drip. What do you think about that? Is it that
Yeah.
huge or what?
I mean, it's got a huge buzz,
Mhm.
just because I think
Why did he
Casper's
get
involved.
big during the pandemic? That's my question.
It's in essay, right? There's a
Mhm.
huge revolution in terms of the creative industry
Mhm.
wanting to localize a lot of the things that they like to import.
Mhm.
So the fashion industry in South Africa is largely influenced by things coming from Europe and the US still. So there's a huge community in terms of growing
Mhm.
um, its own brands, but with the same quality as you would see in a Nike sneaker or you know
Mhm.
whatever else. So I think just in the last years, the clothing and other things are starting to grow because people are looking for things that I can identify with. So it's interesting that it blew up during the pandemic. I
Mhm.
can't really say, but
Mhm.
it's also the what is it like the the different generation, that's the right word, right,
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
changing as well,
Mhm.
like what these youngsters want and what they want to do is it's it's not exactly the way we grew up doing, like I look at way my son gravitates to certain things, saying
Mhm.
although he still looks at me and says okay this and that, but there's things that he just goes from his own generation and
Mhm.
what he feels is dope.
Mhm. Sometimes I talk to some folks in Botswana, right? Like, when we have our own products, let's look at that. We also want to provide to the whole world or to other markets rather than just us ourselves. You see what I'm saying? I think that we can that gives us the ability to scale what we do.
Yeah,
You know.
absolutely, absolutely.
Uh,
I, yeah, the pandemic has definitely reared people into
mhm.
opening up to bigger markets and
Mhm.
broadening their way of doing business because even like it's so crazy because the online industry was very small in SA before the pandemic. I mean, I
Mhm.
remember they did like
Yeah,
some kind of
yeah,
research and stuff,
yeah.
and they said it's going to take many years to sustain for a company to sustain itself on an online space, and it was
Mhm.
really only a few companies that were managing to do that. But since the pandemic, I
Mhm.
mean, there's so many people that order stuff online. I mean, I order just about almost everything. I hate even going into the mall for
We,
anything now.
yeah,
Like
we,
it's a revolution. I mean, like just as an example, like just from my fruits and vegetables get ordered from the farms directly to my home.
but that's
You
somebody's
know,
business. right?
That's somebody's business. Organic farms, they deliver to the door. The big trucks come and deliver every Monday, you know. And I mean, I buy everything from, tech stuff locally to even ordering a whole bunch of stuff through Amazon. And Amazon is delivering to SA really quickly now, like
Really?
super, super fast. Yeah. I mean, I ordered some stuff the other day and it came within a week. I was like, wow, this is
Where were they
impressive.
coming from?
Even
Which?
uh, I can't remember, but you
Mhm.
know, to have it to have it ordered,
Yeah,
shipped from one state to another, flown to here, cleared through customs, delivered to my door in a week. That's pretty damn good.
that's
You know what I
amazing.
mean?
That's
Yeah.
amazing, brother. I think this is good. This is really good time, and I'm asking this question because I think this is
Mm,
good time to really, if you are an entrepreneur, to get into
mm.
this because this is
Yeah,
an opportunity right
definitely.
now. You know. Um.
Absolutely. I think there's no way you cannot be thinking online space in
Mhm.
2022 going forward. You know what I mean? Like now you have to factor in that business model is huge because people are so spoiled from the pandemic that it's that ordering has become a norm, you know. So in a way, they had if you take the benefits from a pandemic, that is the largest benefit that we've had.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was talking to my cousin. I was like, I know Botswana is tough right now.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, the government is not going to do a whole lot for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've long never relied on government for
Yeah.
anything. I just,
Yeah.
as long as I have that in mind, I'm always going to win. So when they do deliver on whatever else things that they once in a while deliver, then great. You know, it benefits already what I'm doing. But
Mhm.
I'm not going to sit there and say base my business model on government delivering
Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah,
to me.
yeah, yeah. Exactly.
That that just doesn't. That's just a tough variable, and that's actually a losing variable.
A losing very, and that's quickly is going to align you to corruption. But that's another topic for that's another topic for. Um, but talking about dependence, but this is a question that I don't know if you want to deal with. Some
Mm,
African countries we still relying on Western world and China and all that kind of stuff. What will
mm.
we take? What will it take for us Africans to really depend on ourselves? At least collaborate with other African nations. Botswana collaborating well with Rwanda, or learning some stuff from Rwanda. You know.
It's a damn shame that our leaders are less of visionaries, but more of you know setting themselves up for small wins. And it's unfortunate we have that because if we had people who dreamed and set up things that were for long-term gain, we would win. But we have short-term goals that destroy us, then we end up leaning on Western countries to bail us out in conditions where it doesn't favor us. And we end up in deals that absolutely sell us to the Western world or to China in ways that we can't get out of. In some certain countries, it's even, the scales are worse. So if we didn't have the reliance on other countries and we realized we only had ourselves to develop ourselves and to have that vision, we would be a lot further. But politicians are just playing a game of self. It's all trying to get something for themselves and don't care about the rest of the people.
Yeah.
If you understand that that's the game, you're better off. But the unfortunate thing is that they're in the position to sell our souls to the other continents. And we are transitioning into a future where Africa is the next target. because we have all the resources for the next revolution. So the next revolution is all the fourth generation
Mm,
stuff, and
mm,
all of that is that's needed to move the fourth generation stuff is in the continent. So this is the first time we are needed at that level,
mm.
because we're moving into a whole new world. So when you look at all the minerals, all the resources, the sun, just even the solar energy, the biodegradable
We're still
energy,
not
the
tapping into that. Yeah.
we're not tapping. And guess what? They are, and they're gonna come. They're coming here for it,
Hmm.
because Europe and China is gonna run out of power, and we have the resources to generate that type of power for the whole world. I know this because this is some research that has been done from
Hmm.
a mutual friend of mine who's in the business
Mm,
of energy, you know,
mm.
and that all the companies are setting up contracts already in the continent. Um, that will Some will definitely benefit the continent, but a lot, if they don't have the right leadership, is going to be the same things as before, just drain the continent.
Man, just drain the continent. Talking about
Mm,
that, you go to every mall in the United States of America where there's an
mhm,
Apple store. You go
mhm.
into that Apple store, it's full of people.
Right,
You know, uh, and we, as we know, that cotton is being mined out of Africa for the most part.
right, right. Exactly,
You know, that
exactly.
that added value is not in Africa. That added value is taking place somewhere else,
And all that money stays there, you
and all
know.
that money stays there.
Yeah. And now it's going to come in on a level that is 100 times that we've seen before. Because even now they're
Mhm,
trying to set up all these power energy, how do you want to call it, farms. They want to farm a whole lot of electrical energy and power out of
mhm.
North Africa to power Europe. That's what's going to happen next.
That's what
That's
is
what's
going to
already,
happen. Yeah.
yeah, that's what's already in place, negotiating with different governments for that. So you can see, if we don't protect ourselves, we don't set ourselves, this is the right time for Africa to position itself in a way that we use our power, that power, to our benefit, to say, okay, no, we will not getting. I mean, look at how Botswana did something so simple, to say no country will be the major shareholder in diamonds. That Saratsa Khama did very, very well, to
Mhm,
have it had a vision to say we will be the first African country on the continent to strike a 51-49 deal with De
mhm,
Beers in terms of the diamonds. Every other country doesn't have major shareholding, but we can set that precedence to even be better. That was just a simple precedence, and that was
mhm,
an example. He was
mhm.
giving us that example to say, guys, here's the example of the types of deals you guys should do, before he passed on. you know but guess
Yeah.
what? And a lot of these guys ain't learned that, and only like you've mentioned now, Rwanda is that in that position. And mind you, I went there. I experienced
Oh, you went to
Rwanda.
Rwanda,
I
right?
I went to Rwanda. I was I was blown away, like, by
Man,
not just hearing, but seeing for myself. You know what I'm saying? Just talking to the people. Just, you know what I'm saying. I wanted to know really what was driving this economy. Why? How did this guy turn a country around in such a short space of time to be a major player in the continent? Incredible.
amazing, amazing. Let's talk about that next time, my brother. That's amazing. A lot of wisdom, my brother. Five guests you would love to have dinner with, and why?
And And it's funny because we just talked.
Dead or
We just
alive?
said it. We just said it.
Uh-huh.
I don't really have five, but if I'm just gonna give you at least just say two people,
Two
maybe
two
that
people. Uh-huh.
I would say that I could learn from today. I would definitely start with the president of Rwanda, Paul
Yeah.
Kagame. I would,
Uh-huh.
I I think he's a brilliant mind. He's a visionary.
Yeah.
He runs the country as a business,
Mm-hmm.
and he
Mm-hmm.
also cares about his people in a
His
way
people.
that is improving
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
livelihoods of his people.
yeah. I
So
give that.
if you're gonna learn something, learn from somebody who's running a whole country, right?
Mm.
So him, I'll definitely he would be my number one icon. I When I was there, I thought this guy's the next Mandela. I
Yeah,
hadn't felt it.
yeah,
I hadn't felt that in any current leader, whether here or in the U.S., and that gave me that feeling.
yeah.
You know,
So definitely you will sit down with Kagame, you will sit down with Mandela, and then you sit down with who?
I met Mandela. Funny enough,
Oh,
yeah,
you
that was
did?
kind of cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that
cool.
was very very interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, that's cool,
um,
man.
Dr. Gavin Hood,
Okay.
co-founder of Ethereum, creator of Polkadot and Kusama,
I read a
and
little bit about him. Mm.
the founder and creator of Web3. Yeah, I would like to hear him. He sounds like a very, very, very smart dude.
Wow, that's cool,
Yeah,
man. Uh-huh.
yeah. So those are my guys. That's it. I don't, I got like I said, I don't really aspire to too many people, but
Yeah,
yeah, those guys. I like things that have direct benefit to where I'm at in life right now. So yeah, those are the
yeah.
guys. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Right on, right on.
yeah, your message of hope, man.
Um, we've been through a pandemic, so
Mhm.
man, I just want to say this: there's still a lot of opportunities out there, and essentially, it's never too late to invest. Invest in yourself. Invest in your mind. Invest in your health. Um, Very important. But if you keep those things focused, you keep
Mhm.
that focus on those things,
Mhm.
and you know, just keep going, man. There's never too late. That's just my thing. I constantly read. I constantly invest in my mind. I constantly invest in my time, my space, my health. So I like to keep that as a way to influence other people to say that is probably the best thing you can do for your life as you grow up and get older, or and feel like maybe I gotta I'm not it's too late for me to get into this or that. No, it's never too late.
One love, that one love.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me, Sonny. This was a good one. It was a dope
That was
interview.
dope,
Appreciate
man.
it.
That was great, man. Thank you everybody for listening once again. And they can find you at what? What was the handle again? I'm gonna put it on the lower
Yeah,
tab.
so yeah, in terms of our crypto and our education and anything related, check out our Twitter page at Coinosaurs. Yeah, hopefully you'll put that up because the spelling might throw people off a little
Yeah.
bit, but it's at Coinosaurs. So, like I said, the team is Ralph Staga, and it's Isaac IQ from Tribal Monks, and myself, Drastik, aka regular guy Dave Balsher with 2 kids and a lady, beautiful lady. That's me. Yeah, I'm
That's
out.
wonderful.